Yo, everybody, what is up? Welcome back to our One Piece character breakdown series. I know it has been a long time since I have done one of these, but I am back to my roots, coming back to you with some One Piece content, so I really hope you guys enjoy the video today. Today on our One Piece character breakdown, we are starting over and going back to the beginning of the alphabet, covering the male characters. Today we are swinging over to Abdullah and Jeet. Now, to start us off, Abdullah and Jeet are both prior bounty hunters, much like Zoro, except for the fact that they are, nothing like Zoro. However, they are bounty hunters and later become pirates, so in that sense, they are very similar to Zoro, except very different from Zoro in the fact that Zoro is probably, one of the strongest people in the entire show, and they're like side characters in a season, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, they were bounty hunters, and then they became pirates. They joined the XXX Gym Martial Arts Alliance, which turned into the Ideo Pirates, captained by Destruction Cannon Ideo, and became the fourth ship of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Now, before labeling themselves as bounty hunters, they were straight up merciless criminals, right? They were known to the world government and the world for bombing a government institution, which tells us they have a serious hatred for the world government. We do not know what the government institution was, like if it was military, political, medical, scientific, we don't know. The specifics of the institution, all we know is that they bombed it bad and received bounties and infamy, I would say would be a good word, for their actions. Alright, now let's talk about the way these two goons physically look. So, Abdullah has a pointed head, pointed head. However, not as pointed as Don Chinjiao, another character that appears during the same arc. So Don Chinjiao's is like really pointed, while Abdullah's is just kind of like pointed. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, Abdullah has a very pointed head, not as prominent as Don Chinjiao. He has black hair in pigtails hanging down on either side. He has a very big forehead with 3 vertical scars running down it. He has thin rectangular shades, long purple trousers held up by brown suspenders. And he wears armor on his left arm in like traditional Roman gladiator style. You know how like Roman gladiators would like pose like this and they've got the armor on the arm like that? That's essentially what his armor looks like. Now, Jeet has a scar running down the left side of his face. He has dark colored hair that is hidden under a light colored turban. He wears a light pinstriped shirt with dark stripes and a dark beaded necklace. Now, both Abdullah and Jeet are considered to be extremely ruthless and without mercy. We are now moving into their personality. They're considered extremely ruthless and without mercy. However, they both have an extreme sense of loyalty to their allies. In the case of Abdullah, it is towards Usopp, and as well for Jeet. When Usopp was lifted by Harudin, Abdullah was moved to tears and assisted down in tearing down the Smile Factory on Usopp's orders. Jeet showed his loyalty as one of the few Corrida Coliseum gladiators who remained loyal to Usopp after Doflamingo placed a ridiculously large bounty on his head. He goes as far as to even attack and fight the gladiators from the Coliseum who tried to attack the Straw Hats. Alright, now let's move on into abilities and powers. All right, now we're moving on into their abilities, powers, weapons, fighting style, and all the other juicy combat information. Now, we don't have an actual scale for how strong Abdullah and Jeet are. However, it is said, and I don't know who said it, for the life of me, I could not find that information anywhere, as being noted participants in the Corrida Coliseum, which does indicate a decent level of strength, as there were some very strong combatants within the Corrida Coliseum. Now, Abdullah and Jeet fight in what would best be described as... do you guys remember that scene from The Lion King where Timon and Pumbaa are used as a distraction, and Timon goes, "What do you want me to do? Dress up and drag and dance the hula?" Essentially, that would be like their fight style, right? One of them does an incredibly distracting thing in front of the enemy, and the other sneaks up from behind and finishes them off, much to the dislike of the crowd and other participants in the Corrida Coliseum. Now, in terms of weapons, Abdullah wields a two-handed trident, two-handed trident, one in each hand, and I would assume he has at least some proficiency in the weapons he uses, as seeing as how he took down several enemies. Same goes for Jeet in terms of proficiency with weapons used. However, he uses two sabers, and is shown like licking his sabers with like a very bloodthirsty, maniacal look on his face. That's like the first close-up of them we get. Like Abdullah's got his arms crossed like this, and Jeet's like licking the blade like a weirdo. But yeah, that is our first introduction into them, like our first close-up, and that's the weapons and fight style combat information and all of the juicy information. All right, moving on into their history. Now, as I previously stated, Abdullah and Jeet bombed a government institution in the past, which granted them their notoriety, infamy, and bounties. Now, the Dressrosa arc is where we are introduced to them and where most of the information about their activity comes from. They haven't really done anything after, and there's not really any information before outside of them having bombed a government institution. Now, during the Dressrosa arc, to start off, Abdullah and Jeet enter the Corrida Coliseum for a chance to win the Flame Fruit, and were placed into Block B along with some of the other notable names from the group. Once the fighting starts, Abdullah and Jeet disqualify some competitors very quickly with the strategy that I mentioned earlier, distraction and attacking from behind. Abdullah is the one who does the distracting, while Jeet's the one that finishes them off with the sword. Pause. They get accused of being cowards by the crowd and the other participants, but laugh it off, saying that this is a fight and we're going to do what we can to win. Now, they prepare for their next victims. However, Bellamy, the hyena from previous seasons, who we know and love as a tyrant, less of a tyrant in the Dressrosa arc, but that's a completely different story. Bellamy swoops in using his devil fruit powers, kind of grabs them, flips them over using his devil fruit powers, and back breaks them and instantly takes them out of the fight, much to the joy of the other competitors and the crowd. Now, after losing, they were thrown into the underground dungeon that was filled with broken toys, and they were subsequently turned into toys by Sugar, Abdullah being turned into a teddy bear with a hat, and Jeet being turned into a robot with a jetpack on his back. Now, after Sugar gets knocked out, and all of the toys return to their original forms, Abdullah and Jeet, along with the other former slaves, declared Usopp as their savior and happily followed his lead. Now, after escaping to the surface, through a hole that Pika had created when he kind of turned into a city, he kind of reformed the island by doing that. So there was now a hole that all of the former slaves kind of ran out of. So after that happened, they joined forces with the likes of the Chinjao family, Harudin, Suleiman, Usi, the bull that Luffy names from the Colosseum because he's very creative with his names, Blue Gilly, Cavendish, bunch of people like that. Most of the people who would end up becoming part of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, all join up together in an attempt to aid Usopp and the Straw Hats. Abdullah and Jeet hop onto Uzi along with Luffy, Zoro, and Law and head to the palace. Zoro hops off to fight Pika along the way, but again, that is another story for another time. When they reach the first level of the palace, Kelly Funk, the user of my favorite devil fruit, but in all actuality, a very shitty person, kind of like points them towards a tunnel and says, "Go, go, go, in here, in here, in here." And, you know, thinking, that, you know, they were given like the inn, Abdullah and Jeet start cheering. However, on the entryway into the tunnel, they hit their heads on the top and fall off, leaving them kind of, on the ground like, oh, you know, like classic cartoon style. They're running and then bam, they hit their heads, they fall off, everybody else keeps going. And that's kind of how it happened. However, realizing that Kelly had tricked Luffy and Law, they started trying to help, but before they could do anything, Doffy flew in and knocked Kelly silly. Originally, when I was first watching it, I thought Kelly had died, but nah, he's alive. Shame. And when Luffy, Law, and Uzi were about to be killed by Doflamingo, Abdullah and Jeet actually stepped up big time and attacked him in the back with their sword, with Jeet with the swords, Abdullah with the trident, got him straight in the back. However, it was a string clone made by Doflamingo, so it wasn't like a killing blow on Doflamingo, but it did stop, you know, the killing blow on Luffy, Law, and Uzi. During the final, and that's pretty much that's pretty much it for them. Luffy leaves the injured bull with them and says, "Take care of the bull. Me and Law gotta go handle some business upstairs." Luffy punches a hole in the ceiling and then they go up, leaving Abdullah and Jeet sitting there taking care of Uzi. And we don't really see them again until the final phase of the Luffy versus Doflamingo fight, in which Doflamingo's birdcage is shrinking and Abdullah and Jeet are assisting the other Straw Hat Pirates, Marines, Court of Coliseum Gladiators, Tontada, and all of them in holding back the birdcage from closing in and killing every single person on the island. Now, we're going to wrap up with some trivia. Now, there's not essentially any trivia for these guys. Like I said, they are pretty small-time minor characters. They would be considered side characters of side characters, right? Like, Destruction Cannon Ideo is a side character, but he's the captain of the ship, so he's in more of a position of importance to the story than Abdullah and Jeet. However, the trivia that does exist for them, in my opinion, is really, really cool. So, Abdullah and Jeet are actually based off of two real-life, real-world pro wrestlers. Abdullah is referenced and named after, and his character design is somewhat based off of Abdullah the Butcher, who is a pro wrestler. Who did a lot of death matches. When I looked him up, the first image that showed up is him eye gouging someone's like face off. There's like blood dripping down. Very, like, I was like, oh my god, right? But that's who Abdullah is based off of, and Jeet is based off of Tiger Jeet Singh, who competed in over 10 separate pro wrestling promotions all around the world, both of them incredibly famous in their own right and successful. And I just thought that that was really, really fascinating that they were based off of that, seeing as how my Taekwondo coach is a pro wrestler who has mentioned both of these guys separately when talking about like pro wrestlers just in conversation. So I was like, oh wow, that's like, you know, a really cool piece of trivia that like connects my hobby with One Piece with like the stuff I do in the real world, which is, you know, always super, super cool. Always super cool. I just want to say thank you guys so much for hanging out with me again for this video. We're getting back into it. I'm sorry if there were a lot of ums and buts and it wasn't, you know, perfectly flawless with the vocabulary. And I'm reading my script off and my eyes are going down and up, down and up. So I apologize if the quality isn't the best. I will try to get better. But But yeah, just your continued support means the world to me. You guys know I love you. I do this for you. I do this because I really enjoy it. I really enjoy One Piece. I enjoy teaching you guys about the characters of One Piece, the world, the politics, all of it. I have plans for the future to really go super in depth onto a whole bunch of different things. So if you guys stick around for that, that would, it would truly mean the world to me. And now for the shameless promo, if you guys could like, subscribe, share, ring the bell, it would mean the world to me as a growing YouTuber trying to make a name for himself. I post anime content on TikTok. I stream on Twitch, mostly, shooters and stuff like that. I post Dungeons and Dragons streams on this channel. I'm going to create a separate channel for my games, which is going to be Apex, Valorant, Minecraft, and like Assassin's Creed, anything else that I want to play. So yeah, I just want to say thank you guys so much for showing back up for this video. It means the world to me. Thank you guys so much. You guys know I love you, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Peace.